Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier. Today I had an opportunity to stand in for Twerk17 on the Redacted podcast, a live interactive weekly show covering Star Citizen. This is not my regular content, but I'm posting it up in case you missed it. I hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Redacted. It is Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, and my music's just gonna keep looping. Whoops. We have Noobifier joining us this week in lieu of Twerk17, whose dad is in town for Father's Day, so he's going to be hanging out with him. But he should be back next week. Board Gamer, Noobifier.
Sorry, I was just celebrating and not talking over you as the podcast started.
I saw that.
Yeah, first time ever.
Yeah, this is the first time in a while. I don't think it's the first time ever, though. I think we've been lucky here and there. You know,
the first time I haven't interrupted you while you're doing your intro.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
It's good around. We're making progress.
I mean,
like 3.0.
Yeah.
Or we're delayed. I don't know. Yeah, one of the two.
Pro streamer.
Or
pro hoster.
Yeah. But yeah, so this week we saw a few things. We're going to be going over the latest ATV, which we're going to mostly be covering that first half. Mostly because the second half just makes me feel stupid, and that's fine for the people that get that. But if people
want to watch that second half of it and watch Mark Abent talk about how he actually loves Item System 2.0 and should marry it. No, it's a lot of technical stuff about Item System 2.0, and you don't need to know it really to enjoy Star Citizen. And it's a lot of stuff we already know if you are looking at how it works anyway. So.
Right. In just a more detailed technical manner. So if that's the thing you're into, definitely go check that out. That is this week's ATV, or last week's ATV, which was on the 7th of June 2017. Make sure to go check that out. We also had an update to Spectrum 3.5. We had the monthly report, which is just a synopsis of all the ATVs, essentially, which I realized while reading it on stream, and people are like, "Oh, you should make a YouTube video of this." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been thinking about this." And the more I read it, as we got to like the studio that was the last studio, I was like, "This is literally word for word their script." So it would be like me making an ATV video using the ATV footage, and it'd just be me talking instead of a CIG employee talking, and that doesn't make any sense.
This is a behind-the-scenes secret, okay? But when I do a monthly report, I just cut the ATV sections out of my news shows from 4 weeks.
This is why I don't do a monthly report. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Well, no, it's not bullshit.
I'm just joking.
They do it.
Just joking.
But, we also had an update to the schedule report, and that happens every Friday until we get the patch released to live. And so there's some things to look at that. We have a diff checker link for that. If you'd like to follow along with any of those things, feel free to type in !ETA in chat for the diff checker.
Or !ETA if you're so inclined.
If you're, I mean, it's the same thing. Now, before we get into...
It's the same thing.
Before we get into any of the content here, I want to remind everybody that we are taking questions at the end of the podcast. So if you have any questions for myself, Board Gamer, or Noobifier, or for all three of us about our own channels or about the game or anything like that, feel free to ask those by typing in an ! Question, and we'll post a link in chat. Click on that, fill out the Google form, and we'll go from there.
If you ask a question the correct way and CIG employees are watching, you can bait answers out of Matt Sherman by asking us a question.
It's like it's a game amongst itself.
And depending on what his schedule is like, sometimes Jeremiah's here and sometimes Zylo's here as well. So.
Oh, a bit Jay Lee?
Yeah. Hidden Proxys. Crouching underscore.
Lurking.
Sneaky Proxys.
Hidden Proxys lurking underscore.
Such a film.
Yeah, so let's start off first. Air traffic control with ATV was in Foundry 42.
It was a good update.
It was a good update, and always I appreciate the ATVs from all the studios, 100%. But I specifically, I specifically look forward to the stuff that we see out of Germany and Foundry 42, just because of the teams that are there and what they work on. Is just, they're very visual for the most part, and it's really exciting. And this week was no exception.
The UK, we get to see so much from their studio over the last few months. They have like a extreme state of the game, or what we're going to get next kind of cross section of the PU, because they've obviously got the Luke Presley there, head of Star Citizen Live or whatever. Live publish, whatever the hell his title is, and because they're doing so much of the features that are going to be coming out soon, we get to see quite a lot of cool, because they're like, well, we can release this now because it's coming out so soon, we can talk about it. So the UK studio, especially, even over Frankfurt now, I look forward to the most.
Yeah.
And the most footage that I can actually use in my own videos, most of it actually comes out of UK, because they're always good at making that the preview videos, the glamour shots, and that type of thing. So we especially got some of that this week. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's jump right into it. Air traffic control is done, and they're moving on with the interactive landing system request system. So that's going to mean that instead of just going and landing in, you're going to have to basically talk to an NPC, right? Yeah. And then that's part of your landing system.
Yeah, they're going to give you, they're going to tell you where to land. You're going to have to request and everything. It's not just going to be free for all anymore, which is really kind of neat. And of course, it's the next step, and leading towards having more and more people in the server and more traffic at a particular port. So it's, I think it's great. It's interesting. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it.
So I quite like the idea, because whereas you're going to be using the mobiGlas and ship spawn terminals to spawn in your ship, the air traffic control takes you landing and despawning your ship. That's kind of its job. And I think that if they do it right, and then they build it into a system where they can move your ships off slyly, that it doesn't break immersion if you're all landing into the same hangar. Because that's what they eventually want. We don't know how they're going to have all these like thousands of ships on a single planet, but I assume it's going to be a...
Didn't they have that at the back of Grimhex? Isn't there, like, we have the ones that we have now, but in the back of Grimhex, aren't there a bunch of garage doors? Isn't that the point? Yeah, so that I can see that that being the next step of what you're talking to, which is it's like a fake system it's a mechanism to make your ship disappear without breaking all the immersion, right?
Without it disappearing into nothing and just popping in and out kind of thing.
Yeah, and popping in as well. The weird thing is at the moment they just pop in, which is odd. But hopefully 3.0, we might see less popping in of ships.
Yeah.
Less.
And that would also be a good way to stop the griefers from just pad camping and blowing stuff up.
Well, there'll be other things as well, like
of course. Yeah. Yeah, the turrets for sure. But it's an unfortunate side effect of an MMO type environment where people are also in a sandbox type environment. And
I think one of the other things we need to remember is with griefing, specifically griefers, or people that just want a good laugh, they'll probably find ways of glitching that turret to shoot you instead of them. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I mean, there's going to be so many times like, I got killed by a turret because someone was behind me being a prick.
Like, yeah. It would be like, I understand I get it why people do it. It's funny and everything, but at the same time, you got a brand new citizen comes in and they can't even spawn their ship for 5 to 10 minutes and they don't understand what's going on. It's, I don't know, it kind of a little bit defeatist, but whatever.
I do think, though, that in the safe areas or port areas where you spawn your ships, that in 3.0 and the alpha in general, that it shouldn't ask you to pay money or cause you to wait if your ship's been destroyed on the landing pad where you spawned it before you get.
If it's within I'm going to say even if it's within a landing zone area for the time being.
Yeah.
Unless they have... the thing is, unless they're taking out the full armistice zones, then when the armistice zones are gone, then yes, I think that you should have to pay. Because then they're going to have the turrets and things like that, right? We know that those turrets are coming in with AI, and they're able to shoot down ships with pinpoint accuracy and stuff like that. Yeah. So you shouldn't have too much griefing, and hopefully,
it's just.
It should be.
So they get those turrets fixed, because I am assuming there will be much griefing with those turrets to start with.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends on how they function and everything as well. Now, one thing I was not expecting to see in this, and I think it caught a lot of people off guard, and I'm super happy to see it. I know as content creators, we get asked all the time, what does this do? What does that do? How do I play the game? Where should I start? Whatever. Now we can just tell them, just go into the game, and the game is going to tell you. So they announced their hint/tutorial system, which I'm sure you're probably going to be able to turn off in the menu or something like that. But it's going to show this text along the bottom of the screen that sort of explains what everything is doing for you.
I think they said that it was going to go away automatically the more you perform the function. So the hint system is progressively reduced as you do stuff. So if it's the first time you come up to, let's say, I don't know, the truck stop, and you have that terminal, it'll tell you a little bit about it. Yeah. So it's actually quite reactive, which is cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And I mean, this is kind of the thing that we've been asking for, right? You know, they are going to be bringing on the website. They're going to be bringing on like a new player guide. But I think this is even better. I'm a huge supporter of and really like when games do something like this, where it's not overly hand-holdy, but it's something like this in the beginning, or it's something you can turn on and off. So if you're getting frustrated and you don't know what's going on, it's very easy to just turn on that system, and then they have that in. So seeing it come in this soon without us even knowing...
I think they said it was relatively intuitive. So it literally goes, he hasn't checked his Mobi-Glass for 3 minutes after he got the mission complete. And it will go, you should check your Mobi-Glass. So that's the sort of stuff.
And it looks like it's text along the bottom as well. It doesn't even look like it's in your field of view. So I think really, really neat. And again, it's a nice balance between that. If anyone doesn't know, there was a tutorial mission that we had to do, you know, do a barrel roll and all that stuff. We still need it. Don't get me wrong, but this is a really nice thing, because the thing I like the most about it is you're actually doing it. It's not a tutorial. You're actually in the environment doing what you need to do, and it's a reminder. It's a hint system, so it's actually, I think, better than, because you're still able to interact and do all the stuff you want to test. So
with their new player guide that's going to be on their website, what do you want to see from that? Are you expecting and hoping to see a very quick synopsis of this is all you can do, this is what you should do,
you know,
or do you want something more extensive?
Honestly, I don't even care about the new player guide anymore. If this is coming in and this is going to work where it needs to work, who's going to... I mean, it's almost too little too late, you know?
No, you can't. I don't think you can do that. You have to... Remember the old video games used to, like Falcon 3.0, you get a box, you get a CD, and you get a book in it?
And you get a novel? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think that we have to strike a balance between that, because if you know anything about teaching people, different people learn different ways, and some people don't like. Some people learn more by reading. Some people need to read. Some people learn by getting spoken to, and some people learn by seeing it done. So I think that options have to be made available.
Okay,
this is a AAA game. You know, like it needs to. It needs
at this stage, though. At this stage, it's not a AAA game.
I understand what you're saying.
About Alpha 3.0 guides.
I think there's a time and a place for each thing. So I kind of retract what I said. So for the general use and everything, yes, I think that how to play the game, how to take off, all the basic stuff that can be taught in game. I think the new player guide may be good for diving in deep to the IFCS, for example. I think it would be good for showing what the differences are in between the armors, maybe, and what you're able to do with those things, and maybe more of the finite control or the differences in between the different seating positions in a ship, for example, and where they can sort of it can give you a quick little blurb at the bottom of the screen in game, but off of game in the website or whatever, it can go into a lot more detail.
So it's kind of the opposite for me at this stage. For what I want, and I'm obviously a different type of learner than most people, I very much like to see a very quick synopsis on the new player guide of bam, 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 bam. This is how you do everything. This is what you can do. And then kind of signposts me to stuff that I should want to try. Then the hint system takes over. So I get in the game and I start to try it, and then the hint system takes over. Because a lot of the time, I find that when I talk to people or people talk to me on my YouTube channel or on the comments, that they don't know what they can possibly do in Star Citizen. They're like, I spawned a ship in.
Well, and honestly, I think that's where the Twitch streamers have the most influence. Is you guys, like I don't stream, but anyone who does stream has that tactile, push-pull effect where someone asks a question, and I mean, I've seen people, you do it all the time, so like, well, here, let me stop what I'm doing and let me go physically show you that ship. I can show you the whole thing and answer your questions. So that's, I think, where the real power behind the Twitch stream is. And then for YouTube, it's the longevity.
I'm not always going to be able to do that. Right now, when there's nothing able to go on in the game, I can do that, and that's okay.
Sure, but
I don't want.
But you can still talk about it.
I can still talk about it. I don't think it's my responsibility to teach people how to play the game.
No. I'm just saying that's where you can help.
I can definitely help. I'm just saying later on down the road, let's say we're 2 months into what the game is released, I'm not going to have time to necessarily go and show them this ship or that ship. Maybe if I'm in downtime in whatever, I don't know what downtime will consist of at this point.
Showing people ships.
Right? Apparently me showing people ships.
Yeah,
so having another resource, an official resource that can do that, or let's say, sure, let's say devil's advocate and say, sure, you know what, you should be doing that, and I do that, and I'm knowledgeable or whatever, but you have somebody new that comes in and tries to teach Star Citizen to new players, but doesn't know it themselves and starts teaching false information, which could also happen, right? So that is the pitfall.
Yeah.
So that's why some official stuff is always, really beneficial.
Right. Especially I really like the fact that CIG is going through the lore themselves, not to take away from anyone else who's talking about lore, but I mean, the people that wrote it are the ones that are telling it to you, so it should be
they know
official.
They know it the best.
Right?
They're the ones making it up in their brain.
Yeah, so it's super good, like that kind of stuff. And I mean, like in the future, as we get closer to launch, I'll probably do my own, lore and no bullshit. But trust me, I'm going to be referring big time to that. And then there's also in the works with HCS voice packs, you should be able to ask the voice pack about a certain subject, and it will tell you, like, tell me about the Sol system, and it'll flesh that out. And because they're affiliated with the company, we're trying to get that so that it's the actual lore script right from CIG, so that there's no miscommunication or screw ups or anything. Segue.
Yeah. No, I'm just
checking
something. I think Noob, I gotta adjust your volume here.
I think that's all right.
Oh, do you want up or down? I can manually.
No, I got it.
Okay. If you're doing lore as a piece on YouTube or whatever, getting the lore slightly wrong if it's role-playing character,
theorycraft.
Or like, no, not theorycraft.
I'm talking about if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, what's the best ship for me to do exploration?" Yeah. And someone goes, "Get a Super Hornet. That's what you want."
Vandal Scythe.
It's like, it's like, and that's inevitably going to happen. Good. But it's I mean, it's just better all in all for CIG to do their official stuff, and if content creators want to go into more in depth or want to do it in a different way or do it whatever, then they can do it that way.
Yeah.
Now moving forward, work is being done on a new mission broker system, which is we know is going to have Miles Eckhart, and what was the name of the other guy? Ruto, which always, every time I hear that name, it reminds me of Rufio. Right? Yeah. Like I picture Rufio sitting in an air control tower, like just jumping around or like crouching on like a Spider-Man pose on like the control panel or something. I don't know. I have a weird imagination, I guess. But so this is to expand on what we now have with Mobiglass. And not only that, it's going to track progress and all of that other stuff. And it was sort of the first look that we saw at the new Mobiglass.
It's like compared to the other system, it's got like different pages and it's all organized. And I think the fact that it's going to start to track missions that you had finished is kind of insightful. And it looks like they're going to add, obviously they're going to have a lot more missions, but the fact that it's able to track them would, tell you that maybe the scope and scale of the quantity of missions that we might see.
Yeah.
But also, it suggested to me that they very much want to have secondary objectives and multiple ways of completing each mission. Like, and for you to kind of try all of the different ways out for every type of mission. That's the reason I would use a quest log for that sort of extensiveness.
And I mean, they're giving you, right now we have available and completed, right? You can tell what ones that you have selected, but you don't see what ones you've accepted. You can actually, it looks like you can actually accept ones, or you can have them pending. So now the mission manager is going to know those different states, going by those top tabs that we can see here in the top. Not only that, you see those primary and secondary, tertiary objectives, which is really awesome. And like you said, Board Gamer, being able to see if it does fork off other ways. Now, I'd be really curious to know if it's sort of, if the missions will hint towards if, for example, if you have a fork that says you can say yes or you can say no, and within the mission, and if you say no, then it goes on to some other, like mission line or whatever, or if you say yes, it goes on a different one, or maybe one it goes for reputation for the Xion, and one goes on reputation for the Vanduul, for example.
I suspect that the mission tracker, the quest thing, will show you if there's options between blow up this or talk to the guy instead, but probably won't go, if you talk to the guy, there's 3 options that mission can go into. It probably won't show you that.
Apparently I'm Mutachi.
What?
Apparently I'm Mutachi.
Says Nubifier to me.
Just changed to Nubifier. Oh, shit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's a respectable guy too. I don't mind.
What, Nubifier? What being, mate?
What an asshole.
Stays Matachi, mate.
He's always smiling. He's such an asshole.
Now, before this next section, right before I saw this ATV, we were watching an older ATV, and I just picked a random one. I had picked one that had the one that had the alien landing, you know, at the end with the reclaimer, and in it we saw the landing zones we saw the landing zone for Levski, and then when we saw, we had literally just ended at that, and as soon as this dropped, and we went over to this, and you could see immediately the difference. Now I don't have a side-by-side comparison here, but the difference in between the Levski landing zone that they're showing on ATV, even 2 weeks prior or 3 weeks prior, compared to what they have now, excuse me for using this word, the fidelity and even the flames is like way better, right? Just overall, the whole VFX for this whole landing zone looks amazing. And they also talked about how the mining areas and everything, and the buildings around are going to be a lot larger and more spread out. There's also, you notice there's a little tunnel down there. And I'm wondering, do you think that's going to be something like we have in Grimhex, where it's like a little hidden entrance or hidden escape?
Almost certainly. They want, the original brief for Levski was to have 3 layers of it. So it's got the kind of the respectable, law-abiding area where you have the shopping. Then it's got the more slummy area, which you might get some missions, and it's a little bit more dangerous. And then it's got those more outlawed tunnels that are deserted, and there's going to be smuggling routes in and out of the city there. There's got to be. So
I'm just pumped to see what it looks like. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh hell yes. I actually think you're going to be able to forget you're playing a video game. It's that good.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And to think that you know, everywhere you see, you'll be able to go, unlike what we have in Area 18 right now. So if you want to go up beside one of those, they look like those oil, I don't know what they're called. They look like the oil things that shoot the fire out the top, right?
Fire tubes.
We'll call them fire tubes. If you want to go up to next to a fire tube, if you want to go perch on top of a mountain over there and pretend you're Batman, or do some Naruto running across that bridge in the background, you can do all of that, which is something that is really exciting at the graphical level that they're doing and that you're seeing right now. So all in all, it was very impressive. Especially it was really funny because I literally just finished watching the older version of it just before it went in. Now, something that was announced was dynamic gravity being a thing, depending on the size of the moon and or planet. And this is something that I really wanted to see, and I was hoping was coming in, but I wasn't holding my breath because, you know, I feel like there's a lot more to do with animations to bring in those different gravities, right? Because walking is no longer really walking, right? If you look at any footage of the moon landing, for example, it's more of like a skip jump thing,
and you can't just slow
lower
down
gravity.
Yeah, you can't just slow down the animation that you have because, you know, it's not just going to be a slow motion version of what you got. So I can understand the developmental challenge of that. And even if it's just a subtle reminder almost, you know, just by a different kind of physics that this planet or this moon is a little bit smaller than the other, that would be, it's obviously, it adds to the whole audacity of the game, right? Like the whole, all these things coming together to try to make what we know as the best damn space sim in the universe. So very cool.
Yeah, I'm just
plug.
sort of curious how they're going to do that. If they're going to find some way to make sort of we'll call it a moonwalk for now, because higher gravity will just make your steps shorter, right, or slower or something like that. So that's something you can kind of fudge with the animations we have now. But with a lower gravity, I'm wondering if they something similar to how they've done sort of the turning and everything, right? How it's sort of a procedural turning animation. If they're going to make a procedural gravity animation, so the less gravity something has, the more it goes to a certain peak before you're just EVAing. And then they can choose anywhere in between that maximum amount of sort of bounce jump all the way down to a normal walk.
I don't mind the lack of animations for gravity in 3.0.
Oh, definitely not right away.
No. Yeah, that's fine. If they just slow stuff down, that's all good, whatever. And when I see the early implementation of that, I just want to see lower gravity. I move slower, faster, more jumpy, or whatever. And
and definitely thank you for clarifying that. I'm 100% talking about final implementation.
Future.
Because this is the first time they've really talked about having different gravity.
So what I wanted to ask about is, you know how on the landing pads you mysteriously magnetically crash and injure yourself? Are either of you aware of whether or not in the future the pad itself won't have its own gravity, and if that's something you'll be able to turn on and off because of the suit that you're in?
They should be still gravity generated.
Takers?
I don't think it's something that you'll have control over. I think it's something that the station will have control over. So, for example, I could see, remember when we saw Star Marine in its first implementation way back when, and it had the gravity generator inside the station?
Yeah, it just comes off.
Yeah, so if you turned off that gravity generator and I imagine most stations would get one. If you turn that off, then those landing pads just don't have gravity anymore. Then you can't land on them like you traditionally would. You would have to.
So the thing I was thinking of though is, like, you know, you're standing, let's say, in the middle of the pad. You have to walk to the edge now to leave it, to EVA. Right. Whereas if you could turn it off, let's say, just hear me out. Let's say the pad had no gravity of its own, and you were the source of the gravity. You could turn it off and jump, and then you would leave the pad. Same thing. Maybe the feet of the ship had the same thing that your boot does, so the function would be the same. But when you wanted to leave, you would have to release, like undock, and then take off.
So the problem with that is you're talking about mag boots, and they've said that they're not doing mag boots.
Boo, CIG.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying, where you're saying, okay, put the gravity in control of the player and these magic or these electronic boots or something. That's not what they're going to be doing. Just because it's too difficult for the amount of things you would be able to do with mag
you could
boots.
Stick to the sides and stick to the ceiling. You can pretty much do anything you wanted.
Yeah, it would get too crazy, because then you go in, turn off gravity in a station, for example, and now not only do they need to be able to design the level on one plane, they need to design levels on all 4 planes, and so
everyone would be in the ceiling.
It just makes things way too difficult. So they have mentioned that that's something they want to try and steer clear of. We used to have mag boots. For anybody who isn't new to the game, remembers we did have mag boots, and they kind of worked here and there. but that's been something since that's been removed. And I think that's like one of the biggest things that has been implemented into a live build and then been removed entirely.
Yeah.
And that's sort of a good example of what this process of building this game shows, right? We get a lot of additions all the time, but so once in a while you could get those things that are removed as well for the sake of the overall game as a whole. The idea in itself is a really good idea, but I think it doesn't work overall, unfortunately. But that being said, having someone to be able to turn off the gravity in a space station, you still be able to land on it like you could land on an asteroid right now without any gravity. But then when you get out, you're just EVAing around. So, and it's kind of cool. Now, I don't know if we'll have the ability to affect how much gravity is on space stations. I don't know. That was
the read-in. If they're changing dynamic gravity on an asteroid or something like that, then who's to say that you can't 50% gravity on your own space station? But again, that offers a lot of issues, because then that's putting players back in control. Like if part of your defense of your own habitat is to knock the gravity to 25%, then that would have some pretty overarching effects on the entire gameplay.
Yeah. Moving forward, do you know what is a good complement to space dust? Anyone?
Is it more
Bueller?
space dust?
Bueller?
More space
Look
dust.
at this. Yeah, Board is correct. More space dust.
More. Keep adding it on.
But I mean, it does look good. They're showing it here. I like to call them like almost miniature nebulas is what they look like, right? In that you'll be able to fly through, that aren't as thick. And now, at first, when we first saw this, we hadn't seen the actual.
Clouds?
They showed us an actual nebula later on in this episode, right?
Yeah,
and so we hadn't seen that, and I was like, okay, that looks cool, but I was kind of hoping for something with a little more fidelity. And
I haven't got a drink.
I don't have a drink either. I know I'm gonna have to go pick up some alcohol after this. But I was like, okay, well, it's nice to see some differences in just it being a black background with some white dots here and there, or like a planet in the background. It gives it more character. And yeah, I think it suits it well. It looks great. But I did think this is what they were talking about when they showed the other, and then when we saw that other nebula, obviously in the same episode, and we're going to talk about that, and you guys will see that later. My jaw dropped. I was like, that is so beautiful. I'm so excited to just go in there and crash into something I can't see. But yeah, what were your guys' thoughts on this? Did you like it? Did you want to see more of something like this? Did you want to see it more dense?
Well,
what kind of
obviously it's going to be dynamic, right? Obviously, depending on what system you're in, the backdrop should look completely unique. You should be able to almost tell what system you're in because you're familiar with what it looks like.
I think one of the ideas is also to have that background heavily changed during quantum travel as well.
Yeah,
like they want it to be kind of what are you traveling to, why are you traveling there, and the background to kind of match what should be going on. It's like, I think it's going to be quite pretty and quite well done.
And if you want to think about it, I think I don't know the specific numbers, but let's shoot a number out there and say 70% of all of us are mostly focused with the exploration side of it. Yes, there's the cargo running and stuff like that, but that's kind of like also exploration inadvertently. And the dynamic background and the change, I guess we're so used to seeing the two maps in Arena Commander right now, and we're so used to seeing what it looks like in the persistent universe. And obviously that's all in one little section of a solar system. So it all should look the same. But again, I think minds are going to be blown the first time you hit that quantum and you go across a solar system and you show up somewhere else and the sky is completely different. So
yeah. And it's something we've been seeing a lot of updates recently in ATVs are their new outposts, and this week was no different when they showed us more work on the outposts. More of the lighting coming in, more of the finalizing of like textures, adding the decals or the decals, however you want to pronounce it. The the different paint jobs, which I was convinced we were only getting white to start with. I was convinced we were just going to get white space stations as the first implementation. And the dust, and not only the dust, but also the ice on the other one.
Yeah.
Right? So seeing the ice, seeing the amount of detail, for example, I think this is a drug lab we're looking at. Seeing the different Shubin Interstellar and the Rayari decals looked amazing.
Yeah, they implied that drug lab might be something special and hidden for 3.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, a mission, like an Easter egg area. But if I would read into it, these emergency outposts are procedural, so they'll be scattered randomly. And this kind of leads into the survival mechanics, which was a little bit polarizing when they first talked about it. You know, like, do I need to eat all the time? You know, is this gonna turn into Rust or some other, you know, survival game, that type of thing. But having those around, if you actually do get stranded and you like self-preservation and you don't just want to suicide yourself, then this is fantastic, because technically you should have an org playing this game. I mean, it is an MMO. You should you should have people that you want to play with. And because the distances are so vast, the original issue was that I could say, hey, board gamer, I've been blowed up in this sector. Can you come get me? Well, I mean, in our system right now, it's 1 or 2 minutes and I'm there, no problem. And yes, Salt confirmed from Board Gamer, Eeyore confirmed. But now if it takes 2 hours or something, you know, you're basically generating a mission for your org, which is fantastic. I mean, again, I personally gravitate to that, and that's the type of gameplay that I'm expecting from this game. And let's say you get stranded in a really, really horrible place to get to, and it takes, you know, I don't know, a couple hours for you guys to get there. You should be able to survive before they get there. You shouldn't just die because you're nowhere. So you'll check your Mobi and you'll say, hey, there's a station, you know, 500-600 meters away, 1,000 meters away, or something like that. And then part of your gameplay is to get there so that you can actually live long enough for them to come get you. So fantastic. Now, there's something I wanted to touch on is that subject of vast things. I'm sorry if you want, maybe this isn't the right time to talk about it, but stop me. People were either very, very happy or very upset about the fact that we were implying longer travel times. And one of the comments was, oh my God, you know, I don't have hours and hours to play a video game. I want to go from here to here on the weekend, you know, before I take my kids out to do soccer or something, like a little bit more of a casual experience. Right. So do you think that, for example, the core like Sol system and a couple of systems around there, their scale would be reduced, and for the more hardcore player that really wants that long distance travel and that type of thing, the further out the systems, the more hostile they are, the greater the distances and the more risk reward. I mean, I think
that's a good meeting point. Because I'm definitely someone who advocates for a little bit longer travel times. I'm not saying an hour to get wherever, but 10 minutes.
No, but you're trying to be a pirate org too, right?
You really need to get people into that idea that obviously you don't want insane travel times, but you want them to be meaningful. You want things to happen to you on the way.
You want people to have to make decisions.
Yeah, but you can have the starting systems. You can have them quite compact. You can have huge travel times in them if you want, like outer edge bits, if you wanted to. But you just need to make sure that a couple of the starting systems are quite compact, so people can do everything they need to.
And relatively secure, and not necessarily low-paying jobs, but risk reward equaling to the effort. So because if you made it so that people could make 1 million credits in 10 minutes, then obviously no one would ever bother to go out. So I do think that the threat has to be higher the further you go out.
So I imagine most MMOs have like what I like to call a starting zone. Right? So it's a starting zone. It's safer. It's more, there's less that you can do in terms of PvP. It's quicker to get to your different destinations and things like that. I would like to see something like that in Star Citizen, because we are going to get a lot of players that come in and need to sort of be gradually introduced to the game and just and have that sort of skill curve,
especially when you get players over years. You'll get new players over the years, and you'll have players of very high skill that have been playing it a long time.
And you want it to be fun for them still, otherwise they'll drop the game and not play it. And that's not what we want, right? We want as many people playing the game as possible.
Yeah, and everyone to have fun.
Exactly.
Get the experience that they want out of the game.
Exactly. Now it seems they're no, it's all good. It seems they're reusing assets from the Idris to flesh out the Reclaimer, or which also sort of said a little bit,
wasn't it?
Yeah, said a little bit about the Idris. Now, one of the cool things that they talked about this, and I didn't expect it to be ready, is the drone system. It sounded like the drone system is almost ready. That was very smooth and quiet. I didn't hear
the drone bay is ready. I know they're working on drones. I just don't know what level of implementation and how soon. Is it for how many patches away?
Well, they did talk about how they're implementing getting the actual drone seat working, which the only way the drone seat's going to work is if drones are working, right? They have now. This is the other thing, right? We're going to talk about this with the mobiGlas, and we saw this with and why the mobiGlas looks so much better and everything else as well. But a lot of this, remember when we were talking about render to texture when we saw those ads? This is another thing. You don't even necessarily have to put on a VR helmet like you would in your SimPod, right? How you jump into Arena Commander or Star Marine or something like that for the drones. You could literally have a big TV in front of you that does a render of texture from the drone onto that TV. So what the drone sees, you see on that TV, and you sit in a chair in front of that drone and you just fly it around. And if somebody's outside of the ship, they see that little drone flying around doing its little maintenance or pulling little things apart before Big Mama Reclaimer eats that ship or whatever it is that it's.
Yeah, and it is 1,000 years in the future. You'd like to think that there's been some type of progress. Something that we have now should at least, as a minimum, be in the game.
But what I'm saying is, I think it's reasonable to expect, by the way that they've been talking about where they're at with the drone stuff, where they're at with the render to text stuff, which is complete, and being able to do all of that stuff, it would make sense that, oh, hey, here's a cool way for us to show this off. Aside from in-game ads.
So there's 2 points on that too. That did you guys get the impression that engine room looked safe or not? Because to me, that guy standing over the heated core of everything just screamed, industrial, and
there's a handrail there. It's fine. Like it's totally safe.
Dr. Evil's.
I'm gonna be honest. I still think the Reclaimer would have been really suited well as a Drake ship.
And it's very industrial. It's got all the hoses, and you're right. But we haven't seen the rest of that line. Maybe there's Aegis ships that are planned in the future that are exactly like it. So not necessarily that bad. I don't think it's bad, and we have to have some.
It's definitely. Don't get me wrong. It's definitely not bad. It's cool.
Yeah.
I just would have liked to have seen it. I feel like it's close. It's definitely an Aegis ship, but it's so close to Drake that I could visualize it in my head what it would look like as a Drake ship, and it would be mean.
No ejection seat.
Yeah, it wouldn't have an ejection seat. That's for sure.
The second one I wanted to talk about that is if they're pulling assets from a ship that we don't have yet to make another ship, then that would be a good indicator maybe of how close. We've seen the Idris for years, literally in game. They had that recent Big Guns of the UEE that was at Christmas, if I'm not mistaken. That video clip where the dude's floating over. Those assets looked really, really good there, and I would imagine, obviously, it's a lot of effort to build something that big to the polish of release. But do you not agree that we're probably looking at it being near or ready, but just not released? Capital ship.
I think what we're waiting. I think that they're ready. I think they're ready to be released. I think that what they're waiting on is netcode to support it. I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Right. I think the Idris is done. I'm pretty sure the amount of footage we've seen of the Idris from how long ago now. I think the Idris and possibly even the Javelin is really close, if not complete. And the only reason we're not going to see it in is because we know that CIG doesn't want to be able to just support one at a time. They want to be able to support at least two before they introduce them. And that means so much in terms of netcode to support those giant entities, which are huge floating, Battlefield or Call of Duty or
instance.
Arma levels, right?
Yeah.
That are floating around in space. Not only that, but also require a minimum amount of players, which if your server can't support the minimum requirement of players for one ship,
right?
It doesn't make sense for them to bring that in. Now,
what about Javelin Murray Cup?
I would like to see, and I think this is what's going to happen, personally. I think we're going to see, and this could even happen with 3.0, is Derelict.
Oh, yeah.
Idris. Which brings us actually great onto our next thing here, because they have upgraded all of the ships, and the thing that got completed this week was, or last week, sorry, was the debris that came around these derelict ships that are crashed on planets or floating in space and things like that.
And they're convincing. They look really good.
They look like they're part of the environment now.
Yeah. And getting that system, that procedural generation system, for them to be crashed for missions and for loot and to find and stuff is just great, because we can have this huge host of content just from them smashing ships.
I do have one thing that irks me though, and that was shown in this video, and I don't think it's final, and I'm sure they've heard feedback on it, but when you see the caterpillar, and this will loop through again right here, you see the caterpillar, it looks like it's been there forever, It looks like it's been worn out and sort of thrown out, but then you also see fire. Like it just crashed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like it's just crashed. It looks like it's been there for quite a while. So that kind of sends mixed messages. I would like to see maybe later down the road the difference in between a ship, and I don't know if they're able to do this, but if, say for example, a player caterpillar crashes into a planet side, could over time, as people come and go to where that is, it sort of evolves into be more a part of the landscape.
Yeah. Now, they did talk about that they would take into account the length of time that a particular derelict was supposed to have been there, with dirt build-up, and obviously with not showing it correctly there, with fires and with the shaders used to make it look part of the biomes.
Right.
It's an interesting concept that you said with a player crashed ones. Obviously, in the short term, no. Right. But longer term, I think it's a cool idea. It's just, is it implementable or is it insanity?
Right, because then, and I mean, this isn't even something players would need to do, but then would you see ship graveyards? You would see, see, it would almost be like its own biome, where it would be like walking through what we have as junkyards for vehicles today. You just see a bunch of broken down ships and stuff like that you could try and salvage some parts from. You can have little FPS battles, or just as a pirate or outlaw crew, just make it your base and add on into it. I think that adds a lot to that, and would be a cool mechanic to have. I could see why they wouldn't want to implement it, because of the amount of work that would be necessary to do that. But it would be cool to see later on.
These are critical too, because another comment that I got on that the size of the universe video was, well, it's so vast that we're never going to see each other. But these are the reasons that people would come together. These are the focal points, right? So even if you have people all over in 6 degrees of direction of the universe, eventually you will want to investigate this wreck, and I might want to salvage it, and Board Gamer might want to squat in it. But that seriously, right? Sorry, brother. I just called it like I saw it. Anyways, so we have all these people. They're not necessarily forced, but will focus here, and then that gives you the immersive gameplay and all of everything that you're expecting of the Star Citizen, and that gives you population. Mm-hmm. So the focal point's important.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do. They do want to focus people, funnel them into that area for emergent gameplay and all that jazz. So,
squatting confirmed.
But do you think
Space Hobo confirmed? We
will potentially see a graveyard of ships, like maybe on one of the moons or something like that?
I think
it'll be more than just one. That's what I'm saying in 3.0.
Yeah,
for salvaging, for sure. I mean, I could see definitely if you're gonna have that type of gameplay, because initially salvaging is supposed to be done by hand, and then later on mechanically, right, with the proper ships and everything. And we've already seen the Reclaimer on the ground. which would insinuate that your idea of finding a large deposit of ships, or again, it could be for any reason. It could be just as a tourist destination, go check out this ship graveyard. My perspective, I might say, oh my God, I've got a reclaimer. I need to go make some money there. And it's very cool. And again, the larger the target, the more likely you're going to get that group of people, not necessarily fighting over it, but the interaction.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Now, before we get into the next item on here, this is something that's raised quite a bit of controversy. I've seen a lot of this happen on Reddit, on the forums, where a lot of people either really liked the change or really did not like the change. I didn't, obviously, it's always the vocal minority, but so you didn't really hear anybody who's like, whatever. I personally liked the new change, but what I'm talking about is the new Gladius cockpit. And so, I want to know, Board, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, so definitely everything below the view line, the actual cockpit glass, as it were, that's great in my opinion. Everything there is great. Above, I don't know until I'm in the ship myself.
Fair.
Lots of people will be like, oh, it's going to be awful, oh, it's going to be great. I literally don't know about that. It looks great below. I like the idea of what they showed, but I don't know. Like, it might
so
be
when
shit.
you talk about below, you're talking about the gap in between the panels now?
So I'm talking literally about the the actual paneling and the actual cockpit itself. So not the glass,
right?
So not the windscreen.
It's a fighter. It's supposed to have really good visibility.
Yeah, I want a good
visibility. My take on it.
I don't want to really see my gun moving as much as I did there. There was a lot of muzzle flash, which that would distract me in combat, I feel. But I don't know. I need to get hands on.
Don't forget about the visor too. Do you remember, like, pre 2.3, you also had all of the information was overlaid holographic in your field of view. And that, I mean, I'm expecting that to come back. Obviously that went away so that they could work on it. So bringing your MFDs and HUDs and everything up is great. I mean, information is everything, but I would rather them focus on getting the visor working again. That's where I'm leaning towards, because honestly, if you're in combat and that's a combat ship, the last thing I want to do is have to look down to see my HUD. And I get it, the enemy position is like right there and you can modify them, but I would rather just not have to deal with it. And my second argument was that there's twofold here. The Gladius is being used as a test bench for the new UI system, so I understand why it was this ship that they chose to do it. But I thought, personally, the Gladius was one of the best cockpit designs of any of the ships, regardless of Sabre or Super Hornet or all the other big ones. To me, that was...
They changed it so much, doesn't it?
Right. To me, that one was one of the sweet spots and should have been the goal for other ships. So I'm not to sound like negative or nothing. And again, I have to see it myself. Just like you said, BG, you have to see it yourself before you make up your mind. You can't just like rely on a 5-second video clip.
Ever since it got that the damage state upgrade, the first ship to get the new damage state, I thought gold standard for ship.
That's the test sled. That's the one.
And it has
you want to see where they're working.
Every time they updated the monitors and the panels and everything, they've done that. Now I'm gonna play the opposite here. I have a Gladius as well, and I like seeing the weapon like that. Now, if you go back to sort of how they're designing the game as basically future World War II stuff, right? We know that they're basing a lot of stuff off World, right?
Description,
right? They're basing a lot of stuff off of World War II tech because it looked cool, right?
Yeah.
And so if you look at those weapons that are on those ships with the guns on those planes, you would be able to see the flash fire from those things, and you would be able to see those things, and it is visually interesting. Now, in terms of being competitive or whatever, is that something that's going to distract from you potentially? Is it something that they could make into something that maybe you could mod and make that a replaceable windscreen where you could block that bottom part off with a metal piece?
You just take the gun off and replace it with something that doesn't crazy, you know, like that's what I'm not, that's the first time I saw it, I wasn't originally freaked out by it, because everyone's like, oh my God, I won't be able to see anything. I'm like, okay, well then all it's doing is basically the gun that comes with the ship is garbage straight up if you have a problem with it. So that's a weird precedence to set with that particular ship. And it's definitely a disadvantage. Trust me, if you had just your whole screen lit up every time you pulled the trigger, it's kind of not going to help anything. So that forces the player to go look for something else. And that's also kind of not where I think is a good idea.
What I'm leaning towards is more potential customization options.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, I see what you mean, like a little screen.
No, so what I would do is instead of the cockpit glass that you have there, you have a choice in between 3 different ones, right? One that maybe is a little bit more armored and it gives you less field of view. So you don't see through those 2 panels anymore. Yeah. It's blocked off by something. Right? But now you don't have to see it, so you have the benefit of not those weapons flashing in your eyes. But now you have the and a little bit more armor, but you have less visibility down in between that.
I tell you what I want. I desperately want them to go, hang on, glass in the future doesn't have massive reflection and glare. And they turn off the fucking reflections on the cockpits. Because that is the one thing that I hate in combat is the reflection going blah, 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 blah. It makes me feel sick when I was wearing.
And the noise that goes with it too.
Yeah, they need to get rid of the sound as well. But it's when I used to wear the VR headsets and watch them to work. It made me feel really sick, the reflections, because it confuses my head. It's like, why are they there?
Or at least tone them down a lot more.
Michael Bay lens
like
lens
they can
flare.
still be there, but there's at points that they're opaque. Well, turn them down so much that
Windex. You should be able to Windex the inside of your windscreen.
You should you should still be able to see through them. And there's points now where the reflections are so reflective that they become opaque, and that's where it's whatever. If you can still see them, if they brought the transparency down to like a 25% of transparency, if you consider it being at 100 now, so it was a lot less noticeable, a lot more subtle, but still there. I think that would work well, and would solve both problems. You would still have that fidelity, but you wouldn't have those things blocking your view in a future glass spaceship.
Right. You'd think by that time that Corning would have figured out how to make it not glare. But before we move on to the next one, there's a second part that I'd like to talk about with that little clip that you've got going.
Yep.
Is the actual UI itself, where I'm assuming can hold Z down and then you look around, or Z, whatever you want.
Yeah, so this is the new this is the new controlling of the systems.
Yeah.
Now you'll have your keybinds still.
100%.
Right? But you'll also if you want to be a role player, or you want to go through and actually learn your ship, or maybe this will give you a little bit more control over certain systems. Yeah. If you're especially not in the middle of combat, or even in the middle of combat, if you become so proficient, then you'll have the ability to do that.
I guess
it's neither for checking toggles, so you can go, what systems have I got toggled on and off stealth?
Instead of it showing up on that little what is it called, on your HoloLens in your helmet, instead of saying comms are on, the toggle switched up and it's lit up, so it's on.
I'm hoping that stealth is so sensitive and so important in some locations that you don't want to have your HUD on your helmet on. Like that sort of level.
That'd be cool.
That's the sort of
sitting in the dark.
I want it to be so
full blackout.
fun.
Yeah, full blackout.
Your cockpit starts to freeze over a little bit.
Yeah, where the paint on your ship actually matters.
That's sort of
Star Kitten, not very stealthy.
Mm-hmm. Like I there's such a minimum range of detection at that, but you want every tiny bit. So that's the sort of stuff that I want from stealth.
I have a question for both of you. Both of you have used joysticks in the past, yes?
Yes.
For a controller? Okay. So do you know how there's a mode, I think it's called joystick relative, where as you're moving the joystick forward, it also lets you aim gimbals. It moves an aiming mark around.
Yeah,
it's frustrating as hell, and most people don't use it, okay? But remember that system, and with my suggestion. So right now with keyboard and mouse, you hold Z and you move, you get free look, and then you go and hover over and you click on the thing you want. No problem. What I would like to see for the joystick pilots who don't want to have to put their joysticks down to pick up the keyboard and mouse is maybe a button that makes the free look exactly like you would Z on the keyboard, but make that bindable. And then as you move the joystick around, it moves the cursor and your view just like it does for aiming weapons on joystick relative.
Okay, well, what I did before is something similar to that. I had the SciTech, not the newest one, but I forget what it's called now.
Like a hat?
But what I use is a button and a hat. And so I use that. I held down a button, and then I use that because the hat was just my gimbals if I was using gimbals. But if I wanted to look around, you could hold down a button and then use.
Was it effective? Like, is that not?
I mean,
clumsy?
I use a mouse and keyboard. There's your answer.
So there might be a simpler option, although that option might work totally fine and actually be quite good.
That's what I found was the best for me.
You can have a hat switch that literally goes look bottom left, look bottom right. Look there.
So it's like magnetic. It goes to the option, so you can like key down, and you would become familiar with in that ship. Down
gets you
the eject, but down once will get you engines off.
So you only need 4 to 6 sections at the ship.
Okay. And then the other point was track IR, because you're always bound to free look anyways. That I don't want, as you look down at the cockpit, I don't want all this schmutz to come up, all this text. So on one button is the display over the display UI, so that you can't see it normally, but you pull and hold, and then as they get bigger, you pull another trigger to let you do it. So what that would end up working like is you're still looking around, you look down, you push the button, you see, I don't know, engines off, and you go, and it does that. To me, that would be super fast. It would give the immersion thing that everyone's after, but it wouldn't make the system so cumbersome that you almost needed a magic decoder ring to turn off the lights on your ship. And yes, I'm aware that you can still bind it to a button and you can still use voice attack and all of that stuff. So I'm not insinuating that you're forced to use this system in any way.
Ease of use. You definitely want ease of use.
So, but I want the option, right? Those people that are hardcore and they really want to role play, it still should be streamlined to the point where it's functional without it going through, like I said, dropping your joysticks and grabbing a fistful of keyboard and mouse, because that's definitely not the solution. But that was just another idea, that track IR, display the overview, and then activate, and then return to flight.
I do recommend head tracking for people using joysticks.
If I was to go back to a joystick, which I will not be, but if I was, I would definitely be picking up track IR to help with that, because I think that it does make a world of difference for that and solves all those problems that you just mentioned, Nubifire. Because then you're doing that, and it's the most RP you can get, right? When you actually are looking down to look down, or in VR or whatever. I'm just saying, for me personally, the reason that I'm with mouse and keyboard is because it is so agnostic that I can switch in between flying and driving and running around and shooting, and I don't have to worry about, okay, what controllers do I have to use, or switching over in time, or doing whatever, or how do I bind this in this ship, or how do I control this in this ship? And it's going to get even more complicated as things like all the new player seats come in, all the new other mechanics come in with
the
turrets.
New cockpit interaction system's great if you're using a keyboard and mouse. Like that's true. They need to balance that well as well. Yeah, it's true.
And even if they do balance it well, it's going to take a lot of time to learn that for joystick users as opposed to a keyboard user, because I'm used to everything.
So you talked about balance there for a second. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion in the past about keyboard versus mouse versus joystick versus HOTAS and all this stuff. To me, the easiest way to make it balanced is to let people choose whatever they want. And then if they're going to choose something that isn't advantageous to them, then that's their own problem. But they weren't prevented from using something that someone else has an advantage over, right? So with this UI system, mandatory that 100% replication of all of the features are bindable. And yes, it's going to just expand that list to craziness. So if you hadn't seen the video, another thing I suggested was a search thing at the bottom. So I could type in missile and it would come up with like lock missile, load missile, all the different functions, and then you just click the one you want and then you bind it. That way you won't have to go through phone books worth of pages upon pages of stuff, you could just find the one quick. Because when you're in the verse and you want to change your binding quick, the last thing you want to do is go through 1,000 lines of options just to find that one, because you won't. Your brain won't be in it. Anyways,
that reminds me of the great controller war of 2015, and you basically just proved my point. Every computer has a mouse and a keyboard. Not every computer comes with a joystick. So it does make sense for them to make sure that everything works properly first and foremost. And I don't want to bring up that argument again because it's just whatever. But yeah, overall, they'll need to balance it out to make it whatever. And hopefully that if you're used to a controller, if you're used to Guitar Hero guitar, if you're used to joysticks or a steering wheel or whatever it is that you're using, that they make it in a way that you're able to set it up, not only with the keybinds, which we have, and that's been fantastic, being able to have the keybind flexibility that we've had for all of those platforms across the board has been fantastic. So, if you want to play competitively, then play with whatever you feel works the best for you. If you want to play RP, then, you're going to be using a yoke, or you're going to be using a joystick or whatever. Steering wheel. Like, honestly, on planets, I want to use a steering wheel.
Oh, that'd be beast,
right? When you're looking at the rover and stuff, I would love it. Are they going to support force feedback? That would be awesome if they do. Don't know if they will.
Let's not add it in 3.0. Let's just get it
right.
out.
I know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, though, right? Like it's. I would like to be able to use a control. I'll probably use a controller, my Xbox controller, when I'm driving, because I just prefer that for driving in general.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea actually for driving vehicles.
But
possibly even the Dragonfly on the ground.
But if I'm trying to be competitive, or I'm trying to get somewhere quickly, I don't want to have to push my mouse back and then go over here and reach my keyboard or my controller, or have to reach out of the way. I need this to be right here. So I want to be able to either be all computer or all keyboard or all controller or all whatever, just for.
But don't forget about the SimPit. Those SimPit guys. I'm not saying that derogatory. There's people that have built entire cockpits and have MFDs and everything. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a legitimate need. CIG, you already know this. I know that you've never not said that you're going to support it, but we absolutely, as a community, need 100% list of all things so that we can make things like voice attack work, so we can make the power grid work for those people to make their custom MFDs that they can see and interact with. You know what I mean? Cater to everyone, because at the end of the day, we're the community and we're funding the game for everyone. So options are good, and please, the sooner the better.
Now moving on, because we are running through time here. They demoed landed Hull C on the surface of a storm, which really looked awesome. They showed some of the animations and things like that.
Certainly getting through those big ships
rather quickly, hey?
Yeah.
Now that they have the design guides for a lot of these ships and the materials already done from previous ships, they're coming quite quickly.
As an FPS level, having that spine, being forced to people bored in the back, and now you're having to pretty much snipe that corridor is very, very cool.
You know what my favorite part of this entire video was, so this little loop that's going through, was when those two guys come and sort of they waddle beside and they crouch beside that ladder, right?
Yeah.
And then in the background, you see someone is cutting through the door in the back. That's the first time we've seen that. And
Bring you to the win.
Oh, you need to start Vader now.
This is important to my interests. This is very relevant.
It's going to be great gameplay, repelling and boarding.
I'm gonna know. I feel like I'm gonna have to know these cargo ships more than the people who fly the cargo ships.
That's a good point, actually. People are going to need to learn the interiors really well.
Yeah.
I mean, people still get lost on the Starfare. People still get lost on the Caterpillar, and those aren't nearly the size of some of these hull ships or some of the capital ships that we're going to be seeing.
There's people that are probably still lost on the Idris that were trying to do the vertical slice or the Moritor.
Oh, yeah, the guy's working on it.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
guys in my org were calling it, you call out different rooms based on what they are, like the galley or whatever. The captain's quarter was actually called the blanket room, not the captain's quarters. I'm like, you guys know that's like, and I'm like, whatever, it's good. Blanket room confirmed.
Also, procedural asteroids, not just coming into the persistent universe, but also they're going to be updating Dying Star, which is fantastic.
That's going to be so cool because it's all going to.
Yeah, so not only are they doing the procedural asteroids, they're also making some changes to the Star Marine maps to balance some things out, which is cool. Yeah. I'm going to be honest, though. I would like to see other Arena Commander maps. Maybe not necessarily Star Marine yet, because I understand Star Marine's still new. They want to balance out the maps we have now. But the Arena Commander maps, I think, use a little more diversity.
And did you say Idris map for Star Marine?
Idris map would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get one. I think we'll get a derelict Idris before we'll get an Idris map for Star Marine.
Yeah.
Because they don't need to balance that for anything. Right? Whereas Star Marine kind of needs to be balanced.
And as soon as 3.0, as soon as we get planets, effectively you could now have ground-based maps. They wouldn't have to be a space station in space. They could be an outpost on a planet.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it could be like it could be a crashed Idris, or it could be a series of outposts on a planet, or it could be they could take similar to what they do with Arena Commander and just put a dome over it. A dome over a section on a planet. Now, this is something I've talked about actually before when we get into modding and things like that. The games like PUBG and those survival games, those battle royale style games are fantastic. It would be awesome to see a battle royale style game on the side of a planet that slowly shrunk, or slowly, instead of having it as like an invisible barrier, it could be like the planet's freezing over, or the planet's catching on fire and becoming smaller and smaller, and you're the last to survive to get ejected out or whatever. There's all kinds of cool things that they could do. Obviously, this is later on, and I'm not expecting this in 3 point anything, but it just lends itself to all kinds of gameplay with the way that Star Citizen is building things with a very solid base.
Sandworms.
Exactly, yeah. Or no, you know what? The sandworms would be the red zones where all the bombs drop. You'd have like zones where just sandworms would come up, and so you wouldn't want to be there, which would be really, really fucking cool. So that pretty much wraps up that. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about, which was the retro console footage, which uses the the same layout as all the other ones, but it's the styling. We've seen the styling of some of the other ones. The styling of this just reminds me of like 1980s, early 90s computer
Fallout. The game Fallout.
Yeah.
Everything like Pip-Boy and everything.
It just looks really cool. And I like the little ASCII balloons that go up and explode. It's like success.
It's on my first PC. It's fucking awesome.
VIC-20.
Yeah. Some sort of games. It looks like some sort of vector-based,
it's cool.
Little old school PC from the 60s or 70s. But yeah,
just what you'd expect to see in the future.
Exactly.
1,000 years.
Well, it's nice to have the variation, right? It's nice to have that visual differentiation. Cool. Is that a word? In between.
Yeah, why not?
Otherwise, I'm just making it up. In between different space stations, different companies, all of this stuff.
And this also leads into what you just said, which is variation. Like if you're in
without it feeling like homogenous too much. Like they still use the same layout.
Yeah, but let's say you're in Xi'an space and you go up to the console and it's all gobbledygook, and as you go up to it, it becomes English or something that you recognize. It's like you go to the ATM and you put your card in and it changes to your language because it knows who you are. It's the same thing, right? They were even doing that certain advertisements would cater to you and you would see them differently than other people. But that level of immersion as you walk up to that terminal, just as a reminder that you're in alien territory, boom, there it is, point blank. So
right. Okay, so we are going to jump into questions. because we are getting pretty short on time. If you wanted to check out the ETA for this week, I will tell you 4 things out of the 13 were completed. Everything else was pushed back. There were 4 things that were added to the schedule. Things like lighting and a couple other things I can't remember off the top of my head. You can learn what those changes were, and I update this every week by typing in !ETA in chat. Not only will it give you the schedule report from CIG, but you will also get the diff checker that is made by, I'm sorry, I don't have your name available off the top of my head, made by a Reddit community user that puts them into the diff checker there. I tried to do it, I couldn't figure it out because I'm stupid. But yeah, I'm sure Board will put the link down below and make it a clickable link over here and then up over here, and then have it go across over and follow a rainbow. But yeah, the link is right there. And Board, make sure to edit all that stuff in that I'm pointing at. Make sure
all of that will get edited in for sure.
The link that just goes over like a rainbow above our heads like this, and just leaves a little star kitten
unicorns
trail
flying around.
We're talking about the same Board Gamer, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What?
The ones like this timestamp, cut it, upload it, it's done.
Sometimes I think the medication I'm on makes me think that I've edited stuff a lot better than I have. Unicorns.
Drunk people do that too.
And before we get into questions, huge thank you to, I believe we have Sunday of Doom doing it solo today. So huge thank you to Sunday of Doom for helping out with the questions. Guys, if you have any love emotes or high five emotes or whatever, throw them in chat for him. He's been doing an awesome job on that. Please and thank you. And blasting that stuff out solo. He doesn't have to do that. He does it out of the kindness of his heart. So, first question is from Dusty Dust, the Board Gamer. What about that 4K VR headset? You said you'd make a video about it. Was it any good? I'm getting VR soon.
It was shit.
Which set is going to be for Star Citizen? I have a Vive. I've used an Oculus. Those are your options. Okay? Anything outside of that is shit.
I am, however, getting a sponsorship from Oculus, which will start like next week, I think. So there will be some.
I need an Oculus set. So I think we've talked. But yeah, we'll need to continue that.
But we need to do some Bridge Commander though, Source. That's what we need to do.
Oh okay. Yeah.
How about this? You get me an Oculus, so I'll get Bridge Crew and we'll do some Bridge Crew.
Is it not cross-platform?
It is. It is. I'm just giving you incentives.
But I want my Oculus.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it looks like tons of fun. I've been watching Gamble play that, so it looks neat.
You hate VR, noob. You're like,
I hate it.
No, this VR will never catch on.
If you said, hey, would you mind reviewing this? I would probably playtest the crap out of it.
Have you tried commercial VR yet? Like
me?
Yeah.
This guy?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to throw up everywhere.
That's why. No. That was with the lower frame rates. So things with like the PSVR and like the older Oculus where they were locked to 60 frames a second. That's what makes people.
At the end of the podcast, I'm getting in my car. I'm going to come over and see you, and we're going to test it out.
Yeah, I have it.
If anyone is specifically wanting VR just for Star Citizen, wait until it's implemented. And it'll almost certainly be Squadron 42 before Star Citizen. You might be able to get the second generation of headsets,
or at least be able to pick up the current generation for a much reduced price. Just overall hardware drops in price.
There is some cool VR stuff now coming out though, which I'm quite excited about. So,
all right, let's try and burn through these questions here. Timbalera asks, I recently traded my Cutlass Black plus a CCU to the blue in for a Connie Taurus. My thought process is that I should be able to run relatively secure runs in bulk to make bank versus relatively unsecure runs in the Cutlass. Given that I'm not the best dogfighter, have I made a terrible, terrible mistake?
No, you might want to hire escorts and the Taurus, if you've got one good gun turret in there, you might be pretty good. Obviously, you can only have one good gun turret in a Taurus because it's got missing turret, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's and then there's also don't forget, like, not saying that the Taurus isn't a good ship, but don't forget there are other, if you're going to bother to get an escort anyways, don't forget there are some smaller hull series which will destroy the Taurus as far as cargo capacity is concerned, and but they're not flyable. So I mean, right now it would be a bad idea. At least with the Taurus, you're probably going to get us. Yeah.
Oh, I would say the cargo spectrum for functionality, based on pure functionality to the most versatile, would go hull series.
Okay.
Freelancer, or no. Sorry, the Taurus, Freelancer, and then the Cutlass. In that order. So being the hull series being the most for dedicated to hull or to hull stuff, and the Cutlass being the most versatile out of all of those.
Yeah. But the Lancer's an easy sell as well. That's also a pretty dynamic ship. You could do a lot with that, and including you could put like a Dragonfly in it, so you can use it as a runabout even.
Well, same with the Cutlass. You'll be able to throw potentially 2 Dragonflies into the Cutlass.
And those damage states and the way the new cockpit works. Anyways,
the Merchantman's what I'm waiting for now. Like, people talk about cargo, it's the Merchantman for me.
We're talking about like down here, and you're talking about. Like,
I know. I can't.
Polaris-sized ships.
Well, you're talking about a ship that's $150, and the Banner Merchantman was only 150 or 250. So.
Only double the price.
But now it's 350. Now, anyway, it's
only double the price. Yeah, all those ships that we talked about were 150 or less.
Yeah, it's true. An Escalation gamer over there.
Yeah, right. What? Where's
you want
Thriftbot?
To do cargo? You want to do cargo, don't you?
Where's Thriftbot? Where's Thriftbot at?
Thriftbot's making a load of money shifting cargo in the Banu Merchantman, mate, and it's Holly.
On his Holly, not his Banu Merchantman. Exactly. Gian Dark 2008 says, I started watching the YouTube video of the podcast a couple of weeks ago and I love it, but it's been driving me nuts. What is the game that Board Gamer and Twerk17 have been playing? What is PUBG? So that is Player Unknown Battlegrounds. PUBG for short.
Or PUBG.
Yeah, or PUBG. Okay. So in the content creator verse, especially, that's what we call it, but it's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's the #1 selling game on Steam at the moment.
Such a weird game as well to just go like, we're going to release this game. It's so popular.
Well, it's because it's a proper way to market a game with
Hunger Games and Rust put together. Is that fair?
It's Battle Royale.
Yeah,
Battle Royale.
Yeah,
redefined that genre just straight away. It was insane. Yeah. But that's why lots of people are playing it, and that's why you're hearing about it.
Yeah. Gian Dark asks, Nubifier, do you have a video or a list of details that list the possible commands that the Phoenix voice pack has?
That's difficult. I know I should. The problem is that it's evolving. So right now, most voice packs have the basic minimum across the board, and then depending on how much time the voice actor has put into the studio, you could have more or less. So that's why there's a slight variation in the prices of some of them, because there's more function. What I'm about to do is read into about 150 pages worth of extra script that's going into Phoenix as a test bed, because I actually have a home studio and I can actually do that easily instead of getting someone like John Delancey into studio. It would be a lot more complex. So yes,
it'd be great if they sent them to your house. It's like,
if they send him to my house, I would invite everybody over a John Delancey launch party. Come on down. No, so yes and no. The problem is that the list you're talking about is massive, and I'm kind of sidestepping the question, so sorry for that. But also, there are about 10 different ways to say each command that all result in the same execution. So you probably wouldn't want to use that anyways. What you could do is get a little cheat sheet about that. But sorry for not answering your question, I guess.
So, no. The answer is no. You don't have a list of commands at this point in time.
No.
And will that be something that you'll want to do when the game is complete?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it would probably be easier just to watch a live stream of someone using it and then picking up on oh, I didn't know that that was a command, you know, like that type of thing. Because like I said, there's a lot in each voice pack and they're different. So you could choose this voice pack and say something and it won't execute it because that voice actor hasn't been back in studio since the update.
Right.
Complicated.
Faded Wolf says, do we have any new information about bounty hunting? I've heard a lot about trading, mining, even piracy, but not much on bounty hunting. Will there even be bounty system in 3.0 or 3.1? I just can't wait to hunt down some stinking pirates. Present company not excluded.
That's awesome. Not you, Soros. You're nice, but everyone else is going down.
No. Present company not excluded.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So that's cute. I haven't seen you in game yet.
Challenge accepted.
I look forward to it.
So salty, so hostile.
Yeah.
Now,
let me know how it works out.
May I tackle this one?
Yeah, give it.
This one itself, you'd have no idea how many times I was about to make a video on bounty hunting. The issue is with bounty hunting is that there hasn't been any clear idea on what happens if I'm hunting Soros and he logs out, right? You could effectively break all of my gameplay because I spent 2 hours hunting you and then you go for dinner. So that's not cool. Would your character turn into an NPC, a lack of other kind of trolley type things? Or let's say someone puts a $1 trillion bounty on yourself and then you just change to an alt and play like that for 6 months. So there's a lot of game mechanics that I think have to be thought of. And I'm sure that there's plans, but from just talking with my org mates and other content creators, there's no real clear idea of whether or not it'll be possible to actually bounty hunt PvP, if it'll always have to be NPCs instead, because they're persistent and a person can log out.
I also have a little asterisk to put up here. My organization also has bounty hunters. Bounty hunters don't necessarily mean do-gooders.
Yeah.
Okay? If you want to be a do-gooder, call yourself that, because a bounty hunter is literally that. Someone who hunts bounties. And if I'm willing to pay more than the UEE or somebody else, if I pay you money to kill somebody, that's what that's for. That's what a bounty hunter does.
Do you know what? There's a difference between bounty hunting and assassination, which is what you're talking about.
No,
it's a similar thing. It's very similar.
It's the same thing.
So for me, bounty hunting,
there's just a moral line would be the difference.
It's normally bring them in alive. Like it is you're right, it is dead or alive technically. In some of the cases, it almost certainly will be dead or alive, but it's recovering of that body. But the assassination, I don't think you might need to recover the body, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Somebody says in chat, I wouldn't consider Boba Fett a good guy. I also wouldn't consider him a bad guy. He doesn't give a shit who pays him, as long as
money,
he gets paid. It doesn't matter.
Money.
His target could have been Luke Skywalker. It could also have been Jabba the Hutt. It just whoever had more money is who he would have went after.
Is your moral line for being neutral that will take jobs from good guys if they pay him? That's your moral line, yeah? So that makes you neutral. Yeah, I don't work for good guys. I don't care.
Yeah,
bounty on Jar Jar.
Listen, I'll do things for money. Whatever. What do you want?
It's so neutral. It's so neutral, Soros.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that to me, in my mind, that's what a bounty hunter is. So that's why when people are like, how are you going to have bounty hunters in the organization? I'm going to send them out to go kill people, and I'll pay them.
For money. For money.
Or to bring them back so I can kill them.
Very much. A lot of bounty hunters will be outlaws themselves, or they will be living in the outlaw areas, definitely. I think you're right with that.
Yeah, mercenary, bounty hunter, same thing.
Payment for killing confirmed.
Purple Cow 286 says, do you think that eventually they'll make enough content that you could feasibly never have to leave a system, let alone a planet, to have stuff to do? Yeah.
We were talking about that at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
The whole starter system idea where all jobs are represented at like 70%.
I think the eventual idea is to have every planet with hundreds of hours of potential gameplay that's not like genuine potential gameplay, not just like, let's grind the shit out of this.
And when you get bored, you just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I like it.
But if they decide to make enough content for those planet side things to do, then sure, right? And especially if we do get the more in-depth planet side stuff going on. It'll be something where, yeah, maybe you don't leave a planet very often.
Well, they were saying 10 years is what their, like, the projected life of the game is, and then throughout that 10 years they would continue to add more and more content. So technically, if you play the game casually, you would every single week there would be new content. Now, if that is new content drop on the particular system that you're in, that's up in the air, but it's feasible, right? Because it happens on Warcraft Wednesday, new content, right? And and people don't go to work because they want to see the new content. So destructive.
The next question is from Tom Trustworthy. Says, how do you think the very first steps into mining or salvaging will look? Say I have a cutlass and I want to do either or both of those jobs. I stop on a rock or a busted up ship. I get out of my ship with a handheld tool to mine a rock or grind a ship down. Would I then need boxes locked down in my cutlass to fill the materials with? And bring those empty boxes with me? Just trying to envision how this will go down before the point I have a ship doing the work for me. So up until the point he gets a dedicated mining ship or a dedicated salvaging ship, how is he going to do that by hand and put that into something? And we've sort of seen those floating crates that they've had. So I think that's what it'll be. You'll be able to go buy empty ones, and then you fill them up, you bring them back. So you pull it out with you, right? They got little thrusters on them, just like your suit does. You fill it up right there beside you on the spot, or you have a spot that you go back over to that's in the middle of all the places you're mining. And then once it's full, you drive it and you put it in the cargo in your ship. I think is the most reasonable expectation of that.
Yeah.
What do you guys
They
think?
said that all jobs will have all the way from gigantic ships down to hand tools. So mining will still have a tool that you can perform the job of mining, and it would give you, I don't know, kind of like what Conan, I guess, and you'd pick up the stuff and place it in the box, exactly like you're saying, and then you use the box to transport the stuff, all the way up a level to the prospector, where the ship is doing it for you, but it's not able to process with fidelity, and then you get into the Orion, which is your bread and butter one-stop shop, right? So it's nice because it gives you that nice spectrum of almost starter or a person who wants the target of opportunity. You happen to be in a system that has, let's say gold is valuable, and you come across it, you don't have a prospector, you can still capitalize on it. So it's that, I think that's the intent anyways for the job, and that would be your reclamation, your mining, etc.
Yeah. It would just go from manually collecting things to automating it with a dedicated ship.
Right.
Yeah. Our next question is from Scroober. So far, we've seen CIG basically confirm a bounty hunter variant for the Redeemer in the modularity funding goal, with prison cells in the bottom and a long-range communication suite for contact with your info agent up top. What other modules do you think they will do for the Redeemer?
I'm going to say I'm not expecting to see a Redeemer or anything for a while. I'm sorry. Yeah, the one that was... Well, I mean, they've already circumvented the Redeemer by saying the hoplites in Squadron 42, right? Because they needed a dropship, and instead of confirming that they were going to make the Redeemer a thing, they brought the hoplite out. And again, I know that the community, a lot of people have had that ship for a very, very long time. And for that, it sucks. It really does. But I don't think that the Redeemer is on the radar as far as variants or anything like that. And also, it's an alpha, and things change. Just because it was said in the past doesn't mean it's going to come. Just like, docking collar was a thing, that was announced, and now it's not a thing because of game mechanics. The reality is that that's difficult. So I guess to answer your question is Redeemer is a bit of a salty subject in the community because of that.
It's low priority.
It's a low priority. Thank you. That's exactly the most razor sharp way of saying what I was trying to say.
It's not essential for anything at all at the moment.
Honestly,
it's just essential for making people happy.
For me, it's not even a ship that's been on my radar at all, because I just know it's a ways out. Once I start talking about it, then maybe we'll start to get a better idea. But right now, outside of it being a drop ship, I mean, that's what it was specifically designed to be, was a drop ship.
It's hangar art now, now, unfortunately.
I mean, they'll give it some love, and they'll do it right. It's just going to take a while.
I hope it looks like an Aegis ship when it's done.
And it will have to be updated for all the new materials.
Yeah.
It's going to have to go through second phase concept in a similar way that the Banning Merchantman did.
Right. Sorry, guys.
Citizen Shenanigans says, do you think we will get space hazards like micro-asteroids? My answer is yes and no. Micro-asteroids, I don't think... Yeah, I think micro-asteroids, you'll hear them, but they won't do anything to your ship. But we will get space hazards with things like ice planets, or if you get too close to them, or suns, or a black hole, or the nebulas.
Do you remember the
like
ATV where he was going through the debris, and you heard the audio of him going through
the Foley,
I think that we will have that very much in dust clouds and in asteroids, especially when our shields are down.
Remember when the new Mustang audio first came in? Way back when, and you could hear like all the panels creaking and stuff like that.
Well, the Connie does that anyways. If you're in a damaged Connie and you're landing on Olisar, the floor panels and everything jiggles. It's really good.
You'll hear all those panels jiggle, and maybe you have that sound effect of the little micro asteroids pinging on, and that would be awesome for when you're flying through an asteroid belt or something like that.
That'll up the level for sure.
I don't think that's going to be something that's going to damage your ship. I mean, we could be wrong. I could do maybe a little bit of damage, but over a long period of time, it could be a possibility.
There might be an area of density or a particular area that has an environmental hazard that if your shields were down, then maybe you do take damage over time. Maybe.
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's a possibility.
Yeah, like somebody saying acid rain in space. Well, rain doesn't have a thing in space, but acid clouds in space, I could see going through that and damaging your ship.
One of the other things that was in the ATV was they talked about the coil for Squadron 42, I think, or at least something I might do for the coil, which is Odin 1. The Odin 1 exploded, and then it's just basically an asteroid field now, but it's still... There's still the core of the planet, which is causing like electric fields. So there's like the weird environmental hazard in this swirly like gas asteroids and microasteroids and lots of stuff.
No-fly zone. An actual hazard. Don't go there.
Might well be a graveyard. Like there might be some cool stuff there if you have the correctly outfitted ship.
Take any sci-fi genre, like Star Trek had that thing where people got trapped into a bubble, and I think there's all these different scenarios, which I'm sure. Not saying that people are going to steal other people's ideas, because they're pretty much universal ideas within.
I'm stealing all your ideas. I'm stealing your ideas. I mean, isn't that
just
what
don't
boards?
put Jar Jar in the game. You can put anything in the game except Jar Jar, and I'll be okay.
Still Jar Jar. Leave him where he is.
We'll call him Raj, and he'll say Sima, Sima, mi Sima instead of Misa.
I would gift all my account.
Sima so like you so much. Nubafire, Sima like you so much.
Triggered, confirmed for 3.0.
That's impressively annoying. Good job.
It is, yeah.
Good job. That's a good Chi-Chi, or whatever you called him.
Yeah. Tom Trustworthy says, I bet most people expect to be flying around in space 99% of this time in Star Citizen. But I bet we will be planet-side far more than we think. Once player housing is in, I plan on being on a planet most of the time. I do also. I'm also going to say not just planets, but anything that's running around outside of my ship. I agree. What will your split between space and planet moon side / satellite side / whatever else, I guess that's it out there, maybe large asteroids, will be playing Star Citizen? So what do you think? Time in space flying a ship, or time on foot or in like a ground vehicle?
In 3.0, probably more planet side. But
I think he's talking about overall.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it depends on what your org wants to do, right? It depends on, it's an MMO.
Or what your role in your org is. Know your role,
okay, that's a fair point as well. But if it will really depend on what the goals of your org is, because if your org is all about cargo running, then they'll probably won't be lounging in their underwear in your, on planet. They'll probably be out in space moving cargo around. Thus the gameplay that they're after. And if they're mercenaries, then they'll probably be running escort for that guy, So it does completely depend. Even exploration, if your goal is exploration, sitting in a house watching TV is probably not going to be conductive or a very good use of your time. So Again, I guess we're waiting to see what the gameplay looks like, and we're also waiting to see what your particular org decides is what they want to do.
Yeah. I have an image for Board Gamer. That's just for you. I hope you enjoy that.
It's going to be a few seconds before I see it. You'll see it in my face when I see it. That's the plus of this.
Oh, the tension, the anticipation.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time on foot and in ground vehicles more than I am in ships. The ships are going to be more of a point A to point B kind of thing. I don't know actually how much. Even when I'm in ships, I'm not going to be flying them. Is not what my role is going to be. So
Pirate King.
Yeah. Selvin says, do you think we will get supermassive space stations, like 10 times bigger than the truck stop? I hope so. I hope we see a Death Star.
Shubin's pretty big.
Yeah. Shubin is really big, actually.
Yeah.
So that's guaranteed that'll be both in Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
And they have the prefabs. They have the prefabs, which would technically let them... The server, hardware will be the limit.
To be honest, there's a whole planet or city in Outlaw space that's comprised of broken satellites and ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most certainly.
And Microtech's supposed to be
have those huge space stations in certain areas.
I would like to see one or two Death Star-like places, though.
Well, they've got that planet that was they tried to build with the UE, didn't they?
Yeah.
So you're gonna have your Death Star.
Yeah. Which is
player-owned Death Star's confirmed by Board Gamer.
Yeah. They just cost too much.
Yeah.
It always bankrupted the UE or something, didn't it? It cost them a lot of money.
The rumor mill is I heard Jeremiah Lee has been working on the concepts for that. So if you have any questions, Jeremiah Lee's
not to throw anyone on the bus.
He's here. I'm just bugging you. I'm just if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just kidding. I'm just throwing Jeremiah under the bus because he's a good friend of mine. Our next question is from Windlord. This is a longer one. And if I can figure out this here. And he says, Wednesday is my second favorite Star Citizen day of the week after ATV day. Thank you so much. Love watching your show. He says, thanks, Source, for making my boy's day by mentioning him by name on TV for his birthday. You're very welcome. And I'm happy to do that for anybody. If you have any kids watching or whoever, I don't mind doing
Or an adult.
Or an adult.
Yeah, we're adults, man. Come on.
I know. We get excited too. My question is, given the latest announcements from Apple, i.e. graphically competitive MacBook Pros and iMacs now coming with AMD Vega and 500 series graphics cards, do you think that CIG may now decide to develop a Mac OS version in conjunction with a Linux version, largely to tap to tap a largely untapped and very big market? Given the open development of the game and it's a long question, so give me a second. Given the open development of the game and the large amount of design students using Mac computers, this might be a welcome boost to the player base, not to mention if they announce it early enough, to some backers with money. PS CIG, if you haven't contemplated this, you're welcome. PPS, sorry for the long-winded question.
Apple's not as big as gaming on Apple is not a thing that people
at the moment.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the point. But Apple's also, in my opinion, very expensive for the equal hardware that you can buy on PC. So I would hazard a guess that the market isn't as big as you may think it is. And those people that are PC gamers, I know Apple gamer, already have a PC or are already there. I don't know. It's
at the very least possible because I think Vulkan will support Mac OS. So and Star Citizen did want to be this big multi-platform thing where they're going to be working on Windows 7 to Windows 10, Linux.
There are games on Mac OS.
I think the user base for Macintosh is actually quite large, to be fair.
But the gaming user base is, I guess, what I'm pointing out.
Well, it's because you can't game on them currently. I think that if you could,
it's just limited.
Right? It's very, very limited. right? But I bet
bang for buck's not there. And
right, right. But if they're making these changes because they see this market, right? And you see all of these, like it's very popular in school, right? Every time that I've been to any sort of college or university campus in the last 5 to 8 years, I haven't seen anybody with I went to a class with a friend not too long ago just to sit in on something, and I thought it was interesting. And I brought my laptop, which is an orange Sony Vaio. Literally everyone in the class had a Mac. Now, those people may be interested in gaming. Well, this is my thing. So hear me out. They may be interested in gaming, but can't justify spending another $2,000 on what they think is going to cost a PC to play games on when they have this computer that they need for work. So going forward, and once they're in that Mac OS sort of walled garden, as per se, people get used to that, right? Just like I don't know how to use a Mac when I get on it. It feels weird. So in the future, if those platforms are going to support being able to do that with games, then I think they should port that over. Should it be a priority? Definitely not. But should it be something that they do when I think it's more important than Linux, in my opinion. I think there'll be more people using. They're very similar, but I think that there's more users using Mac than there is using Linux. Actually, I'm going to look that up right now.
All I'm going to say is that it technically is a possibility because Vulkan does support macOS, but Vulkan also supports Android. So,
okay, so I have a market share thing here. Windows 7 is still the highest at 49.46%. Windows 10 is number 2 at 26%. Then you have Windows 8.1, Windows XP, and Windows 8, all coming in under 6% or lower. Mac OS X is at 3.59%, and Linux is at 1.9%.
Well, there's your answer. No.
So there's your answer. I think they should. I think they should, but if they're going to do it at the same time as they're doing the Linux thing, or do it in lieu of the Linux thing first and then the Linux.
It's just, to me, it's also the driver issue. You know, like NVIDIA is good at pumping out drivers. AMD is good on,
but you're missing what was said in the question, and that is Apple had just announced that they're allowing you to switch out those video cards and that hardware, which means that those manufacturers will make drivers for them. So that argument is a moot point. It's valid for the current hardware, but we're not talking about the current hardware. We're talking about future hardware. This is not a current game, and this is a future game.
Okay, as long as I see the validity in it, as long as they don't gouge you. Remember, like you buy a MacBook
it's irrelevant. They could charge but they could charge $5,000 for the computer. It doesn't matter. If the game is out, then they should port it. They should work on porting it over. If there's any sort of user base over there, and they're going to make money from it.
Fine.
You shouted down Noobify to say fine. I understand Noob's point of view from that, which is literally this might not be valid if it's fucking too much money or it's
if it costs a lot of money.
You don't want to buy a Mac. That's
right. If
it costs, you book them, they will come. If the money, I get it.
If the money doesn't make sense for the user base that's there, then no, don't port either of them then. But if the money even makes sense to even a little bit, then port it over. Why not?
Sure.
Why not?
Next question, please.
Kalnor 101 says, it's like me saying, should they support AMD? I don't fucking like AMD. I'm never gonna buy AMD. Should they support it? Of course they should.
Whip the horse.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
It's your show. It's a good analogy. All right. Do CIG need to create a reason to take off suits or armor when a player is on a larger ship or station? Otherwise, why would you take your suit off? Why by closing? So yes, your suits will generate oxygen, and if your suits run out of said oxygen or something like that, as one example, I'm sure there'll be others.
Eating.
Yeah, whatever. It'll give you a reason to take your suit off.
They take power as well and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
there may be a battery to them or something. So it's something
and
like.
Some people just want the immersion. Some people just want the role play, right? You don't. in the winter, some people take off their coat to drive their car, even though it's minus 30 outside.
The thing is, there's going to be real downsides to not wearing armor. They're trying to see is there any real downsides to wearing armor. We know that in
hygiene.
Hygiene's not going to be a thing in the game, but things like sitting in certain seats, you may not be able to wear certain armors that are too big.
Right, heavy armor. They've already said let's say you can't get in a Super Hornet wearing heavy armor.
Mm-hmm.
That would be or the turrets. So yeah, for sure, I can see them introducing a reason to get out, and then there are those people that would just do it because it's natural.
Well, armor's going to slow you down typically, or use more stamina. And when you're running around the ship trying to repair it or go into different consoles, you want maneuverability and speed. Unless you're being boarded, in which case you quickly suit up.
Right. Well, just look at Star Trek, for example. Like, you got this big ship, and it's your cocoon, it's your bubble. So wearing a suit every day in that on the Enterprise, let's say, as your crew, that would be safe in case some guy blows the hole out the side of the ship. But the reality is, people don't do it because it's day to day and it's unlikely to happen. So if you're on a Polaris, right? If you're on a Polaris, I don't think that wearing your suit all the time is going to be necessary, or even.
You have some people that warp into your area, then maybe, hey, now it's time to change.
Right. Yeah, put on your helmet.
Regardless if they shoot at you or not. Hey guys, okay, we have a level 1. Let's wear our spacesuits right now.
Yeah. Or maybe the suit without the helmet on.
Yeah.
Whatever. Game mechanics.
Game mechanics. Citizen Shenanigans says, partially because of travel times and persistence and the dangers of logging off during transit, do you think that public transit will be used to go far distances with minimal risk while offline? Initiate transit on someone's 890 jump or Genesis Starliner and then log off. Log in later and you're at your destination safely.
I like it.
Or
even NPC, but even NPC transport, you could technically, as if you got on a bus, right? You get on from one place to another, even if like reliable space.
That bus could get into an accident.
Yeah, I mean, but that would suck, right? You get 50 people wake up. 50 people wake up dead. Okay. Thanks a lot, CIG.
So what if you get? Hey, look at I am a pirate, and slaves are going to make me some money, and look at that whole busload of slaves over there.
I don't want to wake up as a slave.
Right? So I don't know if traveling while offline could be a thing.
I think there might be some public transport systems like that. I think that might be a good idea in very safe sectors.
In safe sectors, I could see that.
Yeah.
Or on planet side, I could even possibly see that. Like if there's like some long 2-day train ride that you can take.
Just because.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Our next question is from Tom again. With those derelict ships that we expect to see in 3.0, do you expect there to be loot for us to grab around the ship? How do you expect this content to refresh itself or go away and spawn a new one on some other part of the moon? Maybe they'll be like down choppers in DayZ. They pop up with loot, then disappear after so much time and spawn new ones. Well, they kind of talked about what's going to happen, where if nobody's in the area, that's when things will despawn and respawn in new things. So it's like, okay, somebody's gone there. Maybe they've only taken 2 things. They can despawn the whole thing and respawn another one somewhere else that people aren't at. And then you can come across that later on.
Behind the curtain. As long as it happens behind the curtain, when no one's watching.
When nobody's watching, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All the NPCs, it's like Westworld, right? All the NPCs can see what's going on. But the players, as long as the players don't see, it doesn't matter. It's like, if you close your eyes, you never know. You could have dragons in front of you. You open your eyes and they're disappeared. No, you're safe. Okay. You're safe. But you'll never truly know. Schrodinger's dragon. You'll never truly know. Yeah, Schrodinger's derelicts. Schrodinger's derelict is what it is. That's what it's called. Neo Onyx says, do you think that CIG will allow in-helmet HUD displays to use in lieu of or in conjunction with MFDs? Maybe even allow for upgradable helmets that provide even more information right in front of your eyes. But we haven't seen we haven't really seen any specific helmets yet, but we know they're coming in. Things like the Explorer helmet and things like that, which I imagine are going to do those kind of things. So we know that there's a race suit and the race helmet. There may be more combat oriented for pilots. We're not 100% sure on that, but it seems like
the right direction. Did have that. We had 3 levels while in a ship. We had 3 levels: MFDs, HUDs, and the CIV, that I think they called it, the visor. Mm-hmm. So the visor that was there has been taken away so that it could be worked on, and it's supposed to come back in some form. So it's feasible to answer your question. Yes, it's more than likely that's only been taken away because it's being worked on, not because it's gone from the game. There's another layer that you're missing. So yes, 100%.
Right.
You like the way the developer told people 100%?
100%. It's in.
100% from Nubifire.
It's in. This is all legitimate, real information that we are definitely not making up at all. 100% in-game right now. Inca says, do you think CIG will ever implement control options for on-foot movement and EVA for the joystick? I ask since right now there are no binding options. For anything hat switch, joypad, whatever, you cannot bind anything right now to EVA or on-foot movement.
I haven't tested, but is that a thing? Have you guys tried that?
I use a mouse and keyboard, man. I have no idea. And even that, the only thing I do is unbind the weapon fire modes thing, because I always hit it by accident.
Yes, I mean, they're going to have that because some people want to play FPS with their with a game controller. Although I do think that putting people who are playing a game controller in the same server as people who are playing keyboard and mouse in an FPS game is not effective. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to be able to transition and do all that other stuff, which is why I'm asking why that isn't a thing right now. Anyways, I will check on it personally, and if it's not a thing, I'll make a video on it because it's actually an interesting topic.
Yeah. Winlord00 says, so what about old games like arcade games, Tron, Space Invaders, or old Chris Roberts games? Or a good one would be Super Vanguard Force. As installable extras either in ships or hangars, something to do mid-flight other than basketball. Yes, and so much yes. This is something I've wanted for a long time. Woo! I want to be able to play. I want to have old school arcade cabinets in my hangar. I want that vibe. I want an arcade room in my hangar. I think that would be cool.
Collect money from people who play.
You can play the Grim Hex shopping kiosk game.
Yeah, you can play it up. Well, you could put Pong on there, or some sort of like asteroids game,
or the Holo Table.
But we have Super Vanguard Force on the website. I would really like to see that get a little bit more fleshed out later on down the road and be made its own. At least, I think that would be an awesome subscriber flare. It would be amazing. Subscriber flare would be a working Super Vanguard Force for that to go in game.
Hyper
Vanguard Force.
Isn't that game? That game.
I'm used to listen. Super Nintendo was my jam when I was a kid. So
Nintendo.
I know they should have called it that. It would have been way cooler.
The Japanese version should have been Hyper.
Yeah,
Hyper Nintendo.
Yes. To answer the question, yes.
Player 907. What sort of interior do you expect the Alahay to have? One that hauls cargo? Next question.
Cargo,
Citizen. Yeah, it's going to look like a small freelancer maybe on the inside in the cockpit, and then the cargo will be on the outside. Citizen Shenanigans says, what do you think about the character loadout fitting image that Sandy tweeted? There was no bare-chested male in Speedos. I don't know what that is, so let me go look.
I saw the exercise one.
Alpha.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
That might also be because technically, I mean, you know, guys like Skyrim who make women naked all the time as a mod. Maybe that's their way of doing the parity between the sexes, so that the dude's always wearing a t-shirt as a minimum.
Is this the image you were talking about with all the T-poses?
He's also spelled... Yeah, that's the exercise one I thought. But he's also spelled bear, as in the chest of a whole bear.
Oh, a teddy bear.
Not B-A-R-E, B-E-A-R. The other thing is, if that's the case, then why are the women not in bikinis?
Because they're not from Drake. You know that all of those Drake bikinied women in that ad were actually male models, yeah? You know, they're all male models. They put bikinis on.
Were they really?
Yeah. Think about it.
No, thank you.
Think about it.
Yeah. Diary of a Star Citizen says, with cargo interaction, will we be able to build barricades in Star Marine in the persistent universe?
Yeah, probably.
We should be able to.
Because you can move stuff. Yeah, I know it's not called grabby hands anymore, but you're able to interact with objects and move them. So yes, physics confirmed.
Yeah. And we saw you were going to be able to throw things wherever you wanted, and I'm sure you'd be able to make. I'm hoping you'll be able to drag dead bodies and just pile them into a pile. Use that as cover if you want. Yeah. Just use that as cover if you want. Just have 2 piles of dead bodies at the entrance to your pirate lair. It'd be pretty baller.
Yeah.
It would be pretty baller. And with a drake, like a dragonfly, like a broken down one, just going from one peak of the dead bodies to the other peak of the dead bodies to kind of create an archway.
If they made all the dead bodies persistent, they're like, why is the enemy team killing themselves repeatedly?
I feel like we've gone on a tangent.
Blockage.
Yeah. Make a labyrinth out of bodies.
Oh my god, like Saw.
Yeah.
Something with a sort of Saw trap.
A Saw hostile
feeling uncomfortable
labyrinth mashup. Schmunkle98, quite the name. That's like what did you say earlier? You said something along the lines. It was like a Canadian swear word. Schmeckle or he said
Schmeckle's not a swear word.
No. You
okay.
You I don't know. Schlumpy or something?
It's never sworn.
No, you said something like that.
Yiddish.
What?
Whatever.
Nothing. Anyways, Schmunkle, your name is like that. Any issues or concerns with ship turrets being badass, either via computer, NPC controller, or human operators? This is the most frustrating part of larger ship combat to me, is the turrets should be a real threat. Yep.
No,
they covered it all.
They're not even finished yet.
Yeah, they're not finished. But they just talked about it in ATV, like not this last one, but the one before, I think.
They did also want to move away from AI turrets being super badass. AI in the game has failed in lore, and it not failed, but it's not very good. It's like they try and crack AI every so often, and they go, oh, we can't make super intelligent computers that aim everything for us and instantly win, which we probably will have in the future. There's probably no need for anyone to go fighting an aircraft or spacecraft.
Yeah.
It will be automated, and it'll be very clever.
There has to be a reason for people to want to play together in the game. So it's a game-ism. It's a limitation within lore to justify us playing together.
Mm-hmm.
Lyrium asks, do you think there will be NPC cargo haulers in 3.0?
Yes. I think we'll see them. I think we'll see.
I hope so. I'm not
traveling around, and we will see groups of them with escorts, and I think we will see them by themselves. And I will think that space will be relatively interesting, quite genuinely. I don't have any doubt that we will see cargo haulers 3.0 from NPCs.
Evo Streams says, with the landing zone art going in-house, how long do you think it could be until they have hired enough level artists to quickly start pumping out the hundreds of locations for the universe? Also, do you think they might outsource some of it again? They're definitely trying to streamline their outsourcing, right? They've talked about that, where they, like with the programs that they're using and their internal documentation and all of that stuff, to make it so outsourced companies can catch up and understand very clearly what it is that they're expecting. Because I think that's been their major downfall this whole time, is relying on these outsourcing companies just to have to do it all.
Remember the cutlass.
Remember the cutlass. remember that original date for Star Marine.
So behavior and Athonic and everything they've outsourced really has been a mistake to outsource, and bringing it as much in-house as possible is a much more sensible idea for them. You're saying that they've got those systems in place now so they can outsource much easier, but also get new hires on much easier.
Yeah, I think they're looking at hiring more people, which is, I think, what they want to do. How long that's going to take, I have no idea.
Well, we just got... Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I suspect that they're trying to put everything as modular as possible. So a lot of the work they're doing now will allow them to do pretty much all the zones very basically. The thing that will take them a long amount of time is hero assets for the individual locations. The things, the signatures that give those areas their flair and their unique character. So that's the thing that's going to take them a large amount of time. I do think, however,
the landing zones,
it's not going to take them. Well, the landing zone specific, but they can reuse a load of the assets from another landing zone and then just change the textures and colors and stuff. But it's those statues, like the statue in Levski, that's a unique piece of flair, like that gives it character and some other bits and bobs. Right. But I suspect that it's not going to take as long as you think to pump out those other landing zones once they've got the ball rolling, which they are.
So the point I was going to make is that ATV, I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, where they showed all of the teeny little pieces of all of the functions that make up the constructs, and then those constructs make up rooms. All that back end stuff is what took time, and I'm not saying it's easy, but with the tool built, the generation of the space station to me made more sense to me how they could achieve this crazy idea of building a universe. Once you get the building blocks together, it's more streamlined, but the time invested in that is worth it. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Inca asks, when do you think female models will be implemented with what we know of the upcoming patches?
3.0.
3.0.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Probably.
It could be 3.1. There's a potential for it to be 3.1, but it'll be one of those patches for sure. Quasi Wabbit says, do you think we will have the ability to play others AUEC and 3.0, or will it just be via the kiosk initially?
Oh, I see. Will we be able to give out UEC to other players, basically?
Currency to other players. Or will it be something we can just do via the kiosk?
That could probably be exploited.
Well, the system for service beacons, the manager app for that will be in. I'm assuming you can set prices for the services you request from other players. So maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, I'd like to see the system in. It's fine if it's exploited in Alpha 3.0, because then they can work out how it's being exploited, why it's being exploited, and all that sort of jazz. I mean, that's one of the things we're doing. Anyway, the marketing boys smash the hell out of that. They'll be like, look, I've got infinite money or something. It'd be nice to be able to pay other players, because then you could get the kind of group missions kind of feeling in.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see it.
It would be nice to be able to do that. I don't think it's coming in right away, though. Full Octane says, do you think the Vanduul capital ships that we saw in one of the ATVs, where they attacked the space station, were just drawings or working models that they had made progress on? Definitely working models.
It's a sky texture.
It's just concept painting.
They may not have been high poly. So there's a difference. Like you could take an asset off the holotable and make a video. I think Athagen did that with the Orion. You know, he made a moving video of a holotable asset. That doesn't mean that it's feature complete. That's for sure. However, Squadron 42, that ship is kind of key into it. So I mean, there's two ways to look at it. It could be just a fancy 3D model, or it could actually be what you're speaking about, which is the fully rendered ship.
They've been working on those Vandal assets for a very long time.
Right.
And it's likely that they do have, because they don't necessarily need to make the interiors of any of those ships. If those interiors are not used for Squadron 42, or just small, tiny bits of interior, then they don't need to make them yet. So the exteriors are probably up to a good spec. I mean, they polish and buff everything a billion times. So whether it's up to their gold standard, which apparently even the Gladius wasn't up to, which was originally their gold standard ship, it is another thing. But I do think they were pretty high quality assets. They are just starting to sneak them in now. They're not 2D. It's not a picture.
And that is it for our questions today. So thank you everybody for coming by. Very much appreciated. Board Gamer, what are you up to and where can people find you?
Hi, I'm Board Gamer. You may remember me from such things as YouTube and a Star Citizen video.
This podcast.
Yes, this podcast. Yes, noob. See, he gets it. You can find me at Board Gamer UK on pretty much all the social medias, the YouTubes and the Twitch. I am streaming again. I have been streaming, trying really hard. And you can find me there, just doing Star Citizen videos, mate. New Star Citizen content. On the stream, I play other games. But doing some VR starting probably next week, sponsored by Oculus. They love me. Or not, who knows. They're waiting to listen to videos.
Send it to me if you get bored of using it.
If I get bored of it, I will send it to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Or sell it on eBay. No, that's not going to happen. But yeah, VR stuff. If anyone's got any suggestions for VR games, leave them in the comments as well, actually, because that will help me. Because I think I get to choose. Well, I have got a lot of selection anyway. But yeah, what about you, Noob? What are you up to? And thanks for joining us, by the way.
Yeah.
No, this is fun. Thanks for having me. Obviously, I love the opportunity to get on the podcast. It's not something I normally do, so it's definitely cool. So what I've got for you guys is, along with the regular no bullshit kind of scattering of topics that I try to flesh out, my focus right now is to get the Pilot Training 101 series of videos back up to an updated series. So I did lag and lead pips and display shield and power already. So flight modes, thrusters, missile tracking, pretty much a how-to guide for anyone who's going to join us at 3.0 to try to reduce the burden. That I'm trying to get done before 3.0 is out. And then with that, an updated what is Star Citizen video. So pretty much to start to finish, a person could sit there and watch 10 videos and have a good understanding of what they can and can't do within the game. And of course, so that's my focus for the near future. And I hope if you watch any of that and you like it, I would appreciate a subscription. Obviously, that's the whole point of making the videos, is to grow the channel and get the word out about Star Citizen. So please, if you find the value in that video series, send it to a friend who may need it. Thank you.
There you go. And yeah, before I sign off, thank you so much once again to Sunday of Doom. I think he did those questions single-handedly. Very much appreciated. Love you always and forever. I have to do some running around because I think I'm actually getting the puppy today or tomorrow. So I need to go do some finalized things. Thank you so much. Those of you who've been following, you know what's going on. You can find me here on this channel on twitch.tv/WTFosaurus and on Twitter at WTFosaurus. Right now, though, before we go, I'm going to send you guys over to Mr. Detox. That's
immobile.
Frozen.
He will keep you immobile forever.
On him at a great point. Let's see if we can reload him. I'm going to throw this here. We have emotes for you guys to spam for all three of us here. Right there, and we're going to try to ignore the music.
That's the Nubifier emote.
Oh, this lag, man, this lag.
I'm Justin TV.
He's so dead.
Yep, there it is there. So let's see that over there. Let's see the WTFO raids, if you got them. Let's see the, what is it, a board egg? Board...
Yeah.
Egg.
What is it? A boiled egg? Yeah,
I have it.
It's only the best emote in all of Twitch. I gotta tell you, it is.
And Kappa.
Perfect. Kappa Nubifier.
There we go. And we will send you guys over there. Thank you so much for coming by. We love you all in the face, and we will see you guys next week. Twerk should be back for the regular podcast. Take care, guys, and we'll see you later.
Love you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Had a good time.
That dude's gone from the fight. He's definitely moved.
No kisses.